Okay, welcome to the Revere Veterans and Community Show. Today we have a special guest from Chelsea, Massachusetts. He's with the Veteran Affairs there. His name is Donnie Kingsbury. Welcome, Donnie.
Thank you.
Donnie was born and raised in Roxbury in the good old days. And he's a former mayor and county commissioner of Maine, where he lived for 20 years. Currently a commissioner of the New Chelsea Housing Authority, a former commanding officer of a nationally known honor guard. Donnie, thank you for coming, and I got a few questions that I would like to ask you.
My pleasure.
First of all, from the very beginning, how did you get involved in the Veteran Affairs?
Well, you know, veterans, we tend to forget we're veterans. But I always like to remind veterans that we became veterans on the day of our discharge. We've been veterans ever since. We were veterans when we woke up yesterday. We're veterans when we woke up today. We'll be veterans when we wake up tomorrow morning. We'll be veterans the rest of our lives. We'll be veterans on the day the bugler sounds the taps and we get our full military honors. We'll be veterans 100 years from now, and they'll be placing the flags and the flowers at our grave and marching in parades. So we need to always remember that and take pride in that we are veterans.
Donnie, I couldn't have said it if you put it better any other way. So first of all, thank you for being a veteran of Vietnam.
Thank you for your service.
And from a World War II veteran. Now, Donnie, you are editor of a great newspaper. It's called the Bugle. It comes out there, I believe you, veterans out there. This is a newspaper you should get. It's a veterans newspaper, and Donnie will explain it to you. And Donnie, would you read him something from here and then explain?
Well, everybody knows that there's a wealth of help for veterans with the Veterans Administration. But the problem is, there's several problems. The most important problem is people don't search out. And they don't search it out because they don't want to read gobbledygook, right? It's very difficult to go with the articles, except that, but, except that here, and but. And it's very difficult to read, sort of like legalese. What this does is it translates from the gobbledygook down into everyday language. There's a wealth of stuff out there for veterans, and this is what this is for. And there's something there for everybody. For instance, if somebody ever says to you, I got laid off my job and I don't have any health insurance, I'm worried about my medications, ask them, are they a veteran? And if they say yes, say, well, what are you worried about? You can get free health care at the Veterans Administration. If you're a veteran, there's a lot of things that the Veterans Administration can do to help.
And they contact their regional veteran administrator?
Yeah, that's what they do.
Right. Very good, Donnie. Now, the next question I have for you is, I would like you to talk about the Stolen Valor Act and the Vietnam War. But first, the Stolen Valor Act.
Stolen Valor means these jokers that go around claiming to be veterans and extraordinary medals and things like that. The most stunning case I ever heard of was a couple of years ago. This so-called Navy admiral was arrested for murdering his wife. And it was supposedly a Medal of Honor winner. And it seemed like he was, because there were films of him at the inauguration with President Bush, and he's got his arm around this guy with his thing, and he's an admiral and showed up in his uniform and all this kind of thing. He never served in the Navy. And there's other instances where, well, put it this way, over 4,000 arrests were made last year, from people who go around pretending to be something they're not with veterans. Now, I've had my own experience where I remember, not from around here, but there was a veterans organization commander. And he used to walk around with medals in his hat all the time, all these medals. And telling people about how his service in Vietnam and how he was Purple Heart and all this kind of thing. And people believed him. But he got a little bit too overbearing. And so I investigated to find out. And yes, he did join the Marines. And yes, his unit did go to Vietnam, but not with him. He spent 3 years in 3 days in basic training, and he got a medical discharge for bedwetting. and another one is the Navy SEAL. Now, the Navy SEAL used to come around where I had lunch, and he'd walk in the door, and everybody just stand up and salute and clap and everything else like that. He couldn't buy his own dinner. He couldn't buy his own drinks. The girls flocked all around him. But what made me suspicious was he had T-shirts on, SEAL. SEAL this, SEAL that, SEAL this. Now, Navy SEALs are very humble. They don't go around broadcasting. So I listened to him, and I listened to him, and I listened to him. And just like with most of these jokers, I used terminology that only veterans would know. And one of my favorite ones is, oh, really? Now, what was your MOS? MOS, what's that?
Yeah,
now, that tells you right away, right?
What does MOS stand for?
MOS means Military Occupational Specialty. Everybody has a number. If you're an infantryman, it's 111. If you're a medic, it's 911, and so forth and so on. Well, he didn't even know what an MOS was, right? So that tells me that he's a faker. And there's a lot of these fakers going around. Now, the problem is that the Supreme Court has ruled recently that this is not a criminal offense because it's a freedom of speech. But whenever you run into people like this, just ask them that question. What was your MOS? If they don't know what MOS is, you got a faker there.
Military occupational
specialty, military occupational specialty.
Right.
Or ask them where they took basic training. They don't know all the forts. There's only certain forts, Fort Dix, Fort Benning, and so forth.
That's where I took my basic training in New Jersey, Fort Dix.
Right. So, see, I know you're a veteran because only Fort Dix does
Outside
basic
of Trenton.
training. Right. Right. I did the same thing at Fort Dix, yeah.
By the way, you have a real hero. You mentioned it to me. And could you give us a little history about him? His name is Stephen Leon, and he lives in Revere, I believe.
He lives in Revere, yes. He's 52 years old, a really good man. Volunteered 2 tours in Afghanistan, and he keeps up with the young guys, and he's very highly decorated. And his story is that he was on guard duty at a post with about 3,500 people on it, soldiers. And you and I know that at 6 o'clock in the morning, we're all asleep. We don't have our weapons with us.
Not me, I was up doing the thing in the Quonset hut, shoveling the coal.
Well, you were gung-ho, that's why.
Oh, okay.
So anyways, car pulls up with all these terrorists. And they had everything you can think of, 50 caliber, grenades, rocket launchers, everything. And they were going to do business. And Stevie stopped them. And big gunfight ensued. And they were only like 100 feet apart. And Stevie got injured. He killed them all. But in the meantime, he got injured when a grenade blew up and blew him into the air. And he was telling me, he says, you know, when I landed on the ground and I looked up at the concrete wall, he says, I saw a human thing with bullets all around it. He said, so I started believing in God. But he did win the Purple Heart. And this is all documented. He's not a faker. This is all documented. It's true, a true hometown hero.
He is. By the way, did he win any great other medals besides the Purple Heart?
He won many commendation medals.
Let's hear him.
I'm not sure exactly which they were.
We'll get him up here and find out.
Yeah, you should. He has quite a story to tell.
Right. And talking about the Vietnam veterans, you know we have the Vietnam War, Healing War coming to Revere.
Excellent.
It's going to be here on June 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. It's going to be here 24/7, 24 hours a day, which is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're going to honor all the veterans, and we would like to get the names of the veterans, Vietnam veterans that were killed from the surrounding towns, such as Chelsea.
Right, we'll do that.
Malden, Saugus, Lynn.
Yes.
We'd love to have them.
Yes, it's for
And
all
East
of
Boston.
us. It's for all of us.
Right, to honor each and every veteran that fought.
Absolutely.
And we want all the Vietnam veterans out there to come here. And by the way, they'll be able to have bumper stickers, which will be $5 at the telethon, or they can buy a nice T-shirt for $15. But the money is really a donation, Donnie. And we would like you, if you could, to put that in the Bugle.
Oh, definitely, definitely. That's what it's for. That's what it's for.
Fantastic. Now, I also understand that you enlisted in the Army, just like yours truly did, and you were stationed where I was stationed in Germany.
Yes.
Can you give me the years approximately that you were in Germany?
Well, I went from being a Boy Scout to a soldier. I had wanted to be all my life. I couldn't wait for that day when I turned 17, and sure enough, I signed up. And I became a soldier. But after I signed up, I went to the South Boston Army base for my physical. And there was a fellow in front of me. He was getting drafted. Now, for people who don't know, draft means that's involuntary service.
Right.
You get drafted. And he didn't like it at all. And he was telling me about how the world was going to really suffer if he got really drafted. And he said to me, "But," he says, "I got them." I says, "You do?" He says, "Oh, yeah." He says, "I went to the doctors, and I faked the ear test." I said, "So you can't hear?" He says, "Exactly." So we're getting called up. Now, the examiner is about 5 feet from me, and he's about 5 feet from Joshua was his name. So I can't hear the examiner, but Joshua can. And the examiner is saying, "Okay, now read line 1, read line 6, and he's going through the whole thing. And Joshua's answering every single one of them, despite the examiner has a low voice. And when he gets finished on the eye chart, the examiner jumps up and says, "Congratulations, you just passed the hearing test."
That's very good.
Yeah, I've never seen olive skin turn white before, but I saw it that day.
I get one thing I would like to reiterate about the Vietnam War, which I forgot to give, but I will do it, is the address. And that's going to be at 150 Bennington Street, Revere, Massachusetts, at the Beachmont VFW, and I believe it's post 6712. So please all come and help us Vietnam veterans. By the way, how did you ever get involved in the Bugle, if I may ask you, when you first started with this? It's a fantastic newspaper, so.
Yeah, I have had so many compliments about it. People love it.
I love it, too.
Well, the thing about this is, as I say, people don't like to read anymore. You know, this is an entertainment society. If you take a look at the news media in the old days with Walter Cronkite and Tom Brokaw,
Yep.
Those were journalists. We don't have journalists anymore. They're all entertainers. So yeah, when you inform people, you have to entertain them as well as inform them. And that's what this does. It gives funny stories, it gives famous warriors, famous quotes, famous battles, and a lot of funny, as you see, a lot of really funny pictures in there. And so that's entertaining, so people are apt to read it, which is the object is to read what VA has to offer, see? So it's been very successful.
Talking about the VA, could you explain to the veterans that there should never be a homeless veteran out there?
Should never be.
Right, and what if he is homeless, what he can do?
You can go down. You can go down to your local city hall. Every city hall has a veteran services officer. Okay, this is the Massachusetts Department of Veteran Services, but they have connections with the VA, and not only can the VA help you, but that veteran services officer can help you if you're homeless. And there's plenty of help out there for you.
Right, and Revere, our veteran officer is Nick Bugle, who's head of the Revere Veteran Service.
Yes, good man.
And who's the one in Chelsea?
Chelsea is Francisco Toro.
And if they wanted to get a hold of, like Nick Bugle, they can call 781-286-8119. And if they want to get a hold of the one in Chelsea?
You just go down to City Hall. He's in room 110.
Right. And by the way, if people want to subscribe to the Bugle, how would they get there?
You can do it by internet, and it's very simple. You just type in www.chelseaveteranscouncil.gmail.
That's it?
That's it.
Good. Now, you are also commissioner of the New Chelsea Housing Authority.
Yes.
How did you ever get involved in that?
Ever since I was a little boy, you grew up in the old days, and I grew up in the old days, and in those days are very different from today. In those days, my street, all the mothers on the street were my mother. All the fathers on the street were my fathers. All the boys on the street were my brothers. And all the girls on the street were my sisters, and we stuck together. And you remember that, don't you?
Yep.
Today, we don't do that anymore. So we always helped each other. If my car broke down, my buddy across the street is a car mechanic. And we always helped each other. But today, they don't they don't help each other. But I still have it in me, and so don't you. That's why you're here. See what I'm saying?
Right.
We still have that energy in us that we need to help each other.
Good. By the way, people don't know, but you were a former mayor in Maine of the town of St. George?
Yes.
How did you ever get involved in that?
Yeah, that was funny. Well, I moved to Maine. My wife was from Maine. I moved to Maine so my kids would get some of that nice Maine values. And I was living there for a couple of years, and all of a sudden, a dozen people showed up on my doorstep. And they said, knocked on my door, and they had this voters list. And I said, well, what is it? Well, how can I help you? They said, you're going to be our next selectman. I says, what? They said, yeah, you're going to be our next selectman. I says, you're kidding me? I'm from away. You know, Maine people don't trust people from away. I'll never get elected. They said, oh, yes, you will. If you just sign here. I said, this is a losing cause, so I signed it. And I was amazed I got elected by a landslide. And
I'm going to ask you, the population of St. George.
6,000.
And you won by how many?
Oh, I won by probably 60% of the vote.
Wow, that's
and I'm from away. You know, I'm not supposed to be trusted, you know.
And what is the job? I mean, you know, like being a mayor of a town.
It's like being a city councilor.
Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And anything new happened up there while you were there? Any new improvements?
No, everything was pretty quiet.
Let's hear it.
See? No, everything was manageable. One of the proudest thing I was is that we had the lowest tax rate in Maine, and yet we were highly responsive. We were very responsive into the needs of the people.
Right. What I would like to ask you, while you were stationed in Germany, can you tell us a little history about yourself there?
Oh, Germany. Well, I was a medic, and I didn't hang around with my barrack mates much. I was interested in culture. I'm always interested in different cultures.
Such as?
Such as Germany, in Italy, in Spain. So I went out and I learned how to speak German very well. And all
das ist gut. Das ist gut.
Yeah, sehr gut.
Yeah.
And so I really hung around with a lot of Germans, and I became very familiar with their culture. And, you know, I very rarely slept in the barracks. I very rarely ate in the mess hall. I always got invited to someone's house for something. And I spoke the language so well that people used to say to me, "You're American?"
Yeah.
Oh, but I spoke it very well.
Let me ask you, what year was you?
I was there from 1959 to 1961.
1961.
And I got out just as the Berlin Wall was going up.
Let's see. When I was there, General Clay, John J. McCloy was the High Commissioner. Konrad Adenauer was the Chancellor. Was that about the time you were there?
Yes.
They used to call him the Alte,
Yeah,
the old one.
The Alta, yeah.
Yeah, the
old one.
So
Yeah.
that was the first German Chancellor, which at that time wasn't Berlin. It was Bonn.
Yeah,
Out of Bonn.
exactly, for
Right.
West Germany. And when I was getting off the ship coming home, was when the Berlin Wall was going up. And they were picking people off the thing there, and I'm coming down the ramp, and I'm saying, oh, no, oh, no. But whew, I got by.
By the way, I got to ask you, what are your future plans? I mean, I know you're in Chelsea, but I mean, with the veterans.
Well, I have to admit that since my birth, I've been a compulsive rescuer of people, places, and things. So anytime somebody needs to be rescued, or something needs to be rescued, I can't help it. I don't know what I'll be doing. Somebody will come up with something, and I'll have to run around helping. But I love to help people.
You know, it's fantastic because I got to tell you, we have a lot of people who are not veterans in the city, and that's part of the community show, the non-veterans. And a lot of them do fantastic things for the veterans.
Yes, they do.
We have a gentleman here. His name is Al Terminello. And Al, if you're out there, I hope you're listening because you do so much. He's with the Revere Veterans Committee.
Mm-hmm.
He helped set up the Columbus Day Parade. He helped set up the Memorial Day.
A lot of work.
The July 4th.
That's a lot of work.
Not only, I mean, there's others beside him. Nick Bua, Ira Novoselsky, who's by the way,
Ira, yes, I know Ira.
He's now president of the Revere Council.
Oh, good.
Which is good. Our mayor, Dan Rizzo. I mean, these people participate, the police, the fire department, so it's a fantastic thing that we have going on over here in the city of Revere.
Yeah, that's great.
Also, we have the retirement of the flags coming up next month.
Oh, yes.
That means if you have an old flag,
Yep.
don't throw it away.
It has to be ceremonial.
Well, right, so drop it off at your veteran services. In our case, it's at the Revere Veteran Service, 249 Rear Broadway. Drop it down there, and we'll honor it on May the 19th at the Matola Post around 12:30, and the flags get burned. We'll do that.
You need to remind me of that so I can put it in the Bugler.
Okay. Another thing I'd like to remind you, we got an honor flight going out next month. 4 of us were chosen from the city of Revere at the Senior Center. They're in the Revere newsletter, which is, so you can put that in the Bugler
We'll put
too.
that in there, yes.
So that'll be Chelsea honoring the city of Revere.
Well, we're brothers anyway.
And I was going to say the city of Revere will certainly...
They may have had differences years ago, but we don't have differences anymore.
Oh, I got to tell you, we had a gentleman up here the 21st of this month, April, a week ago, actually, a little bit better than a week, Jeff Perman. He gave us a history of the Romney Marsh, which was first called the Romney Marsh. Then it was called Chelsea. Then it was called North Revere, and then it was called Revere. So actually, Revere was at one time really called the city of Chelsea, and I guess
Yes, it was.
Right.
It was, yeah.
So that broke away.
Yeah.
We also had a great veteran.
But we're still brothers.
Oh, well, we always will be.
We're family.
Right. Except in Revere, they speak a lot of nice Italian, and
They do.
and they speak Chinese. While in Chelsea, they speak Spanish and other languages, which is nice. I mean,
But you know what I love about Chelsea and Revere is its diversity. And you don't see diversity like this
No.
anywhere.
no.
And how the people get along and how they help each other and are respectful of each other. And the diversity is of...
I wish they would learn directions, because once I asked for directions in the city of Revere, and I wound up in Saugus. So, I mean, I wish they would learn to speak English.
Oh, boy.
So, Donnie, I got to tell you, beside all the things we do here, we have a lot of veterans that do work for us, for the community. I'd like to mention a few from the city of Revere. There's a gentleman at the Beachmont VFW, Greg Marciello. He goes around, gets money for us. He's the one that ordered the shirts. There's another one from the Patriot Club. His name is, well, Rosa Napolitano is one. Nani is another one. I don't know Nani's last name, Nani, so forgive me. He's the one that got a hold of these things for the Vietnam Wall. Like I say, we're going to be having a telethon here at 12. We'd love to see a lot of people come up here. If you're a Vietnam veteran, certainly come up here so we can honor you, just like I'm honoring you right now for your service.
And you for yours.
Right. So that's good to know. So we still have a few minutes left. We got about 5.
But you know, have you noticed after Vietnam and everything, everybody ignored the veterans. But I'm going to tell you something right now. When someone finds out that you're a veteran today, they stick that paw out and they say, thank you for your service.
Right.
The American people are very grateful for the
When you people came home in
veterans.
the late 60s or early 70s, because we were involved from 1955 to 75, even though the war started in 45, people don't realize that when the French were occupied, and they were
Exactly.
beaten at, what's the name of it?
Dien Bien Phu.
The Dien Phu. Then we got involved from 55. But when you people came home, you were mistreated. Not
awful.
dishonored is actually the word.
Awful.
And it's about time that the United States turned around and honors you. We do. I do.
Right.
The city of Revere does. And I'm sure the United States of America does.
Well, the American people have been so good to their veterans. So good to their veterans. And they really appreciate veterans.
I know that I think President Obama, when we go down to Washington, if he has some free time, he said he would like to meet the veterans if he has free time. But I guess he's so busy now running around with what we just had a week ago, the Boston Marathon bombing. Which, by the way, I got to give the police of Watertown a big, big thank you, because they did a beautiful job.
Yeah,
I heard a lot of people complain on the lockdown. That was the best thing that ever happened, because if there was no lockdown, he could have escaped on the bus, the trolley, the train, the subway. But people were observant, and when they noticed something was wrong, they spoke up, and they did.
Right.
They found them in the backyard. They sent out the heat sensors.
Well, it's a warning to anyone else that is thinking of doing the same thing, that we don't mess with Boston. We are Boston strong.
Right, when it comes to a
You ain't getting
tragedy
away
like
with it.
that, we're all Americans.
We're family.
Exactly. And by the way, since we only have a few more minutes left up, take a couple of minutes, wrap it up, and then I'll do the rest for a minute or two.
Wrap it up.
Whatever you want to talk about.
Oh, there's so much to talk about. I guess basically the main thing is Congress has been finding out why it is that VA can't reach out to veterans and why they don't get the response that they should be getting.
Yeah, why does it take 3 years for some veterans to get the benefit they deserve?
Well, in that particular case there, it's not only the VA, it's the Department of Defense. But over the past several years since 9/11, there's been so many applications, for instance, for PTSD, that they were never equipped to handle that type of thing. But they're trying desperately to fix that. But the Congress will tell you, and the VA itself will tell you, and I'm quoting from the VA Undersecretary for Benefits, and he said, documented, I would encourage people seeking VA benefits to use the free services of veterans organizations. That means Chelsea Veterans Council. It means your councils over here in Revere. It means the DAV, the VFW, and all the other things. But you have to really get involved. You have to get involved with your veterans organizations. They need your help.
I know that, and you have to contact your veteran administrator in your town.
Yes.
Okay, Danny. So I guess we only have about a minute or so left, so I would like to wrap it up and say it was a pleasure and an honor.
Pleasure.
And an honor.
Same here.
To have you come here.
No, my pleasure.
And God bless you and take care of you.
Oh,
May
thank
God
you.
bless the people of Revere. May God bless the United States of America, and especially all our servicemen. And until the next time, tune in, and thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you.